advisors, and we have also joining us today Brian Bruce from Your Brand Voice, which is a small business owner like many of us that are out there. We also have Jason Osborne from the Bank OZK, and we wanted to put out a video to discuss the stimulus that packages that are out there for business owners, because I was talking with Bryan today, and there was a lot of confusion, right, Bryan? I mean, of like what's out there, what's available, who can qualify, what's the process. And we're looking at this as a great opportunity for business owners to get a lot of help, and also to help employers hire back people, because they'll have real incentive to do so. But I think there's just a lot of confusion, so we wanted to spend a little bit of time just clearing up what the process is, and even bringing in Jason, who is really on the front lines of this, right? I'm sure you've been super busy, Jason. Bank OZK is a local branch, a local bank here in our area. We work with Jason a lot, and he's helping a lot of business owners with that PPP filing and application. So a lot of confusion, right, Bryan? I mean,
So Greg, thanks for putting this together. We, being a small business owner with 3 employees, obviously when the stimulus was starting to come out a couple weeks ago, we were all over it. And I think the first day I was in there applying through SBA, and then a couple days later they revamped their website and made you go through a different process. So that threw off. So I thought I was one of the first in line, and I had to come back and do it all over again. And then the second time I did it, they were using certain requirements. And then a couple days later, thank God I have this system called Gusto, which does all my payroll. Yep. Gusto reminded me, they're like, hey, we used a form that they're no longer suggesting we use, so go with this. And so there was some back and forth, and all of that confusion started to give me doubt as to whether I did it right or wrong. So then, I'm reaching out to you to get some advice. And I think this morning I finally got this thing nailed down, and I thought maybe doing this would be helpful for me personally, but also for others that may be facing the same thing, because I believe, we represent our business. We represent small businesses, restaurants, bars, hotels, service providers like, roofing people or plumbers, electrical. So they're out doing their business, trying to stay alive. They don't have time to sit at home. They're literally essential. A lot of our clients are essential. They're out there continue to operate. They're not at home trying to figure out where this money is. So
right.
Clearing up some of that confusion, I think it was valuable to me, and I figure if it's valuable to me, who's spending all day, every day trying to figure out what's going on, might be valuable to others. So Jason, why don't you tell us, what is out there for small businesses? What are the options that are out there?
Yeah, I think there's 3 main things that are out there for small business owners right now. The first is the Economic Injury Disaster Grant. There's a $10,000 grant that's available. That is directly through SBA. So you got to go online to sba.gov. Application process takes about 10 minutes or so to do. I got to be honest, though, I've been on tons of conference calls, webinars with SBA, all, for the last 2 weeks or so now. I've not heard of a lot of people getting this grant. I know it's out there. I know SBA is offering it. I've not heard the magic formula on how you get that grant. I know it's out there. The other one that I have seen some people get is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. There's a loan program that SBA rolled out as part of the care package as well. And in my 13 plus years in banking, it's probably the best terms I've ever seen on an SBA loan. It's 3.75% interest, and they will term that out over 20 years. So depending on the dollar amount of the loan, there's different types of collateral they'll ask for. The last thing I read and the last guidance was that anything $25,000 or under, though, does not need any kind of collateral. So it's going to be basically based off your own personal credit or the guarantors of the loan's credit. But if you can, term out $25,000 over 20 years at 3.5% interest, and by the way, they will defer payments for 6 to 12 months, meaning you don't have to make a payment on that for 6 to 12 months either. That could really help a lot of business owners, get back on their feet and keep their businesses going during this time. The program that I'm administering right now, and it's taken up
Jason, before you get that,
every day for the last 2 weeks of my life, is the payroll protection program. So,
Jason, let me ask you real quick.
Greg, I can't hear you talk. I see you talk.
Oh, you can't hear me?
You look really good, but I can't hear you.
All right. Well, one thing I wanted to I'll sign language you.
I can't. Yeah, I don't know. Is there a? Am I doing
Is
something
that
wrong?
the?
Hold your phone up to your ear while he talks. I think that probably.
Okay.
Or turn your sound up on your phone.
Can you do that?
And speaker. Use a speaker.
Yeah, that's what I am on the.
Oh, okay. You can't hear me still. Well, this is really for the people who are watching.
See where it's coming out of though.
Hold on.
Fine.
Huh.
Can you hear you, Brian?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear him. I don't know why his microphone. Maybe it's because he's on a cell phone. But why don't I give Greg a second, and then I'll repeat the question to you, Jason, so you can hear him.
Okay. Well, the payment advance of the 10,000. I just received an email like just yesterday that they're changing that up to like based on how many employees you have. So like if you have 4 employees, you're now going to be eligible like up to 4,000 instead of the 10,000. But I, just like Jason, I haven't heard anybody that has gotten that payment yet. So I don't really know which one, if that's one that you can really count on, or maybe that's going to come later. I do know people are starting to get their stimulus checks from the IRS if you did direct deposit at $1,200. So you want to be looking to make sure you've received that in your bank. But without question, for most of us, most small business owners, what Jason's going to talk about is this PPP. And what's important to know is they're 2 separate applications, and they're really separated, that one doesn't affect the other. So go ahead and try to apply for the 10,000 advance, but definitely you have to work with your banker, the bank that you do business with, if they're small business lenders, to work on this PPP, because that is what's going to give you, probably the most that you can get from most of us small businesses, and in a fairly quick time. And what's also important is that it's a first come, first serve. And so they're starting to send these checks out, and there's a limited amount. There's like 350 billion that's geared to that. Now they may up that because they're expected to run out like next week, based on all the applications. And I'm sure Jason can tell you that he's been super busy over at his bank. So I just wanted to point that out, that, make sure that there's a difference between all the different loans that are available, and make sure you're applying for the appropriate one.
Looks like I lost some sound. Can you guys hear me?
I can
hear you.
Huh.
But I can't hear Greg still.
We lost sound all the way around here.
So go ahead, Jason.
Hold on. Don't go anywhere.
Maybe we should.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Okay. I think it's just the sound that I'm having issues with. Forgive me for 1 second, and I'll bring everybody back in here. All right. So Jason, if you can still hear me, what Greg was just was referencing the difference between these different things. But what he was going to talk about is you getting into the PPP and a little bit more specific on what that is and the different opportunities there and what you're experiencing.
Yeah. So this is all I've been doing for the last 2 weeks, is administering out these loans. What the payroll protection plan does is it allows business owners to get up to 2.5 times their average monthly payroll. And they're able to use that for the next 8 weeks of their payroll. If you use that correctly and you use it 75% or more of those funds for just your payroll, then it's 100% forgiven through SBA, meaning you don't have to make any, you don't have to repay it at all. So if a business owner has, average monthly payroll of $10,000, 2.5 times that, they can get $25,000 and help pay their payroll for the next 8 weeks. Now, there is a little bit of guidance in this program that you can use up to 25% of the amount you get for rent, mortgage, and utilities. There's kind of a gray area, and it's a little dicey. I haven't really recommended it to a lot of clients. My recommendation is honestly that you use this really for payroll, so that you can get this loan forgiven through SBA. But it's we've received an enormous amount of applications from this because obviously there's a lot of need out there. I can tell you a couple of bullet points and tips of the trade, I guess, that I could give is the application. The application is a little bit confusing, and it's the number one place that we're finding errors as we're processing through them. So let me back up a little bit. Part of this PPP program is SBA asks banks, hey, can you administer this program out? It's going to be a forgiven program, but banks need to make sure that all the documentation is correct and that all of the applications are submitted correctly. That's kind of our liability in this. As long as they do what they say they're going to do, the banks are kind of held. There's a hold harmless agreement, so we're not people think we're more concerned with the payroll amount and verifying the payroll. We're actually less concerned with verifying the payroll and more concerned with making sure that application is filled out correctly and all the required documentation is updated. And like you said before, that's not a business owner's, trade. That's not what they know how to do or like to do. So I think sitting down with your accountant or somebody who knows those things well that can help you is great. Or, going into your local bank and asking them to help you out or calling your local branch manager at your bank and asking them for guidance on what documentation and making sure you have all the correct docs up front, and then taking your time on that application and making sure you got every I dotted and T crossed.
What's been nice for me, and I hope you guys can hear me now. I fixed it. I had my earphones ran out. Is I use an online payroll system like Gusto, and I have Bench as my online accounting. And again, I logged into Gusto, and because I did all my payroll through this system, they had already staged all the documents for me, and it was so easy for me to load up. And I had started that only 18 months ago. Prior to that, I would be so in a bad spot trying to gather all that stuff. And so as a small business owner, that was a really big benefit to me because I feel like I had most of that dialed in and I could just upload it. But I also had Gregg and of course you and other resources to kind of tap into. But I think that was keeping your books clean for these times is obviously a very valuable thing.
Absolutely.
It is. And in the applications I've processed, and we're up to 290 that I've touched, you can tell who these online payroll systems have made this so easy. And I can tell because it'll be a PDF that's uploaded that gives every bit of information. And even the first page, I think Gusto does this. It tells you PPP average monthly payroll. It calculates it out for you and puts it right up there. And that's what your dollar amount is. It makes your life a lot easier. So there's been some really good tools out there.
There's a lot of questions as to well, what if I don't pay myself a salary? Like a lot of business owners just take a distribution, or they just take it all as income, and pay it as self-employed income. So you don't, if you're like that, you don't have to have a salary, but you can only factor up each employee or yourself up to $100,000. But if you just have self-employed income of 50, what you're taking is that income for that for that 1 month, and then you're multiplying that by 2.5 times. But what's also included in that 1 month is any benefits that if you paid your own health insurance, right? So if your health insurance was $500, you add that to it as well. Also, you would add any kind of retirement plan contributions that you would normally do. Add that in as well. Any state and local taxes. So all those things get added in. And so that number can increase, and then it's 2.5 times that figure. And so self-employed people can do this. What's great about it is employers really have an incentive to hire back people, because if they don't have as many people on their employees as what they're asking for, they have to pay that money back. So it basically pays for 2 months of salaries for a lot of employees that might have been let go. So if you're one of those people, or make sure that you're going back to your former employer and asking if they're once they get this PPP payment, that they have to have employees on the books. And you can even go to another business. It doesn't have to be what I've read is it doesn't have to be the same people. So if you find another business that filed for the PPP and needs employees, there's going to be some hiring that's going to be happening as soon as people get this money, which again should be this week, next week. I imagine. I don't know. Jason can probably. Can you hear me yet, Jason? No. Maybe ask him, Bryan. Jason, like, when does he expect these payments to start really?
Jason, Gregg's asking, when do you expect payments for the PPE to start rolling?
We have funded out. Actually put money into about $10 million into the Sarasota Manatee County area already with this program.
Wow.
Good.
So that's directly here. My team's approved a little bit over $10 million. And I think the number this morning was about 120 local businesses that we had booked and funded, meaning the money's either in their account or, it's going to be in their account in the morning. I have another 30 or so that have already been approved today through SBA from my team. So
I have a question real quick. So when this was all breaking news, right? Obviously I bank with Bank of America and they were up like the next day, right? Yep. And I literally logged in my account and it attached my business account. And then it had this upload portal where I could upload documents. And then of course I uploaded the documents from Gusto and it was a clean thing. But before that, I was thinking maybe my smaller banks that I do business with might be a smarter angle. They might not have the online sophistication, but they might have less volume. And I'm starting to feel like although the application process was easier with Bank of America, I might have been smarter to go with my local credit union, who I also do business with, because they have a more personal relationship and they're probably dealing with smaller applications. Do you think that's probably happening, Jason?
Yeah, you saw it early on. The early numbers that came out from SBA said that the smaller banks were killing it, right? They were the ones pushing through the most applications and helping people out first because they had a smaller funnel, right? So they were able to push them through quicker. I think I was talking to somebody about this earlier. I think through every big major event that's happened in my lifetime that I can think of, from September 11th to the financial meltdown to now this, we've all kind of done things a little bit different in our lives and we've learned lessons from those and gotten better. One of the things that I truly believe that'll come out of this is people are going to want to have a closer relationship with their bank. They're going to realize that it is as important as my financial advisor, my attorney, my accountant, and my bank are people that I need to have on speed dial, because when I need them, I really need them. And stuff like this really proves that. I couldn't be more proud of. We have 8 branches in Manatee and Sarasota County, and my branch managers have done such a good job kind of just staying in contact with everybody that's out there, being a helping hand for this program, because we know it's stressful and we're trying to do everything we possibly can to push through as many applications as we can. Like I said, I have a team of 5 now, and we've been working 12 to 14-hour days. After 14 hours, your eyes start to get crossed and you start to make mistakes, and we got to get up and go home, go to sleep, and come back in the morning and do the same thing. But I think exactly what you said, the smaller banks are processing these a little bit different. But also, I can tell you on the smaller bank side of things, we built the plane as we flew it with this. We built a brand new online system for this program, and every day that we went from when we started, there's been new updates that have come out that's like, hey, by the way, this system does this now, or you guys said you needed this. We added this, and this overnight. So we didn't have the technology that a Bank of America or Chase had, but we built the plane as we flew it, and we felt like we've done a good job.
So what about this question we have here from Victoria, who is my fiance? So thank you, Victoria, for she's also a small business owner. She's a mitigation banker. So it says, can I qualify if I pay myself payroll but don't have any employees?
Absolutely. So April 10th opened up the sole proprietor 1099 contractor application period. So you can apply and obviously the verification of payroll is a little bit different. They'll take tax returns for that, or they'll take 1099s if you get a 1099.
Awesome. Awesome.
I think the big message is to, if you haven't already applied for the PPP, if you're a business owner, or even if you're an independent contractor, self-employed, every independent contractor is able to apply for this, and so if you should revisit it, make sure. I mean, there's this probably is not going to last very much longer. I don't know, Jason, maybe ask, again, is how long he thinks this will last. But they probably, and there's discussion in Washington about this, they'll probably do another stimulus package to help, if they can get that through all the red tape that's going to come with that. But there's such a big demand for it. But it's really something that can help not only your business but your employees, and that just gets spread throughout the economy, which will help fill that gap over the next 2 months, and hopefully we'll be in business the next after the next 2 months. So this will be that gap that could actually start with businesses and spread out to the people and employees, and that just expands into purchases and everyday living. It goes back into the economy. So make sure you're taking advantage of it. This is one of those really strange opportunities like that doesn't come around very often to get some really serious help. So yeah, I would ask, Bryan, ask Jason.
Jason, Gregg was just saying, obviously you mentioned this when we were going to do this call. He's like, we got to hurry because they're running out of money. So you obviously agree with that, but do you think that they will go through a second round to keep that bridge going for the next couple of months that we anticipate business being impacted?
I am optimistic. This is 100% my personal opinion, but I am optimistic that Congress will. I pray that they will. I really, really hope, and I truly, truly believe that we need it. I think there probably needs to be another $250 billion allocated to this program for it to really get down. See, here's the reality of it is a lot of the larger businesses were first, right? They were on top of it because they really, really needed that money. A lot of our 1099 contract employees and like your fiance, those smaller self-employed or sole proprietor type companies, they need that money too. And they're the ones that weren't first. They couldn't apply until the 10th technically. So they really need funding as well. And we're less than 5 days away from what the application period opened for them. So I really, truly hope and pray that Congress will add that additional funding. Reach out to your local elected officials and let them know so we can really
keep it going.
Try to make a difference there.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, let's see. Any other questions? Let's see. I got one from Chuck Beaumont. I'll throw up on the screen. If you can read it, it's a long one, so I'll read it to everybody. Gregg, can you speak briefly with the opportunity that exists right now to invest in stocks for those who have never done so? I think people don't take the initiative because they don't have 10 to 25 to invest. Any advice if someone wants to throw a few thousand into the stock market right now?
Yeah, well, I like the way you're thinking, because this is the time when you want to, if you haven't invested before, it's a great time to invest while prices are still down. The markets have come back about 28% from the lows. It still will be choppy, but because you have so much stimulus there, right? I mean, we're talking billions and really trillions of dollars with the Fed, to help get through this. There certainly is a good opportunity if you have a longer term view. And really, I think 12 months from now, prices will be higher. It may go a little lower just because it's going to be choppy. So the best is just to start with. You could just start with an index like the S&P 500. You can go directly to like a Vanguard, or we can certainly help you. Put you in the right direction. But buying an S&P 500 or even I like technology. I mean, there's great just technology funds you can buy, because these tech companies are, they're not going anywhere, right? And they're, this is changing the way people do business. It's really going to forward technology even more, the demand for it, this remote style of communicating. And so, I mean, companies that are involved in 5G and technology, they're the Microsofts and Apples of the world, they're not going anywhere. So it's a good time. If you want to reach out to me, I could certainly, help you get in the right go in the right direction. You can go directly on a lot of online things if you want to do it yourself, or you can work with a firm like ours, and we're happy to help you. So hope that helps.
Awesome. Well, I think unless there's any other thoughts, I'll give one last thought, because this is a practical situation. A small business, anytime throughout a year, I might have 3-4 employees. Sometimes I'll go down to 1, depending on seasonality of my business and hospitality. So when this came out and I averaged my payroll, it was 1 employee at a time when I had 3 and 19. So obviously, but then I cut them to 1099s, and so it's very complicated. But I think what this has enabled me to do is keep everybody. I haven't let anybody go. Everybody's taking a few less hours because we've got lower workload, because everybody's kind of taking a little break here because they have to. But it's definitely allowed me to have some confidence to keep them alive, because we are very confident that the business will be back. The graphs are showing that it's starting to settle down, and that New York's even feeling better, although people are still dying. The pace at which is slowing down, and we'll need to be coming back at some point. So I think businesses that are able to sustain without collapsing or going away completely are going to be in position to come back alive, and that's what this stimulus is designed to do. I think it was a great move by our government to put it in the hands of the people and the small business owners, and it's so much different than other stimuluses of our lives, because a lot of times we never felt that. We did feel it because we could fly planes and go into hotels and do things, and banks, but this is the first time we've actually got it to keep our engines going. So
it usually goes to the big corporations. This is right. Like, to me, the first one goes to the lifeblood of our economy, which is the small businesses. But that's why it's so important that people go out and take advantage of it, because it buys really 2 months for a lot of businesses, for a lot of employees. So if we can help in any manner, and I know Jason has been a great resource to get information from, and there's a lot of great people that want to help. So make sure you just make sure you reach out and ask for help. If nothing else, and certainly a lot of people will be there for you.
And the last thing I'll put on here is, we were talking, Greg and I, earlier with another small business owner, and he was contemplating even doing this, and both you and I, Greg, were like, no, this is a time when you take the money. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to take a loan or a grant, or maybe not a grant, but a loan of any sort, even at any interest rate. But right now, take your fair share, and then take it and do what you feel is best to keep your business running. And I can't, as we're so careful about going in debt, it's a natural reaction to kind of be careful. But this is a very unique situation, and something that everybody should absolutely take advantage of.
Yeah, especially if you don't have to pay it back. And as long as you're using 75% of it on your employees on payroll, which is going to make their lives, exponentially better, it's a great opportunity to take advantage of. So,
all right, I got another question for Jason. I promise I'll let you go after this. Yeah. So I was quick out of the gate, got my stuff uploaded, and then I spoke to Greg, and he's like, "You might have, not have included everything you needed to include." Even though it was gusto and I wasn't maybe 100% in my book. So do you think there's a way, if they haven't reviewed my file, to go back and make some adjustments to that? Or you think once you upload it, you're done?
No, I know our system, for instance, we have a link that you upload. So after you did your application online, we emailed you a link, and it's a real-time link where you can see all the documents you've uploaded in there. So there should be a website that you go that you see all the documents or whatnot that you've uploaded in there. And then if you forgot anything, you can go back and upload more. I know for us there is. I can't really speak to the Bank of America.
So Bank of America has that portal type environment where you can upload. My question specifically is that, how do I know that they haven't reviewed and started working on those numbers before I go back and adjust it, because I think I might have omitted 1 or 2 things?
So that's the difference between the big bank and the small bank, right?
Yeah.
Big bank is
go see Banco as you can.
You're probably going to sit on hold. Greg had an email, right, address, or a buddy he could text or call and say, "Hey, where am I at with this?" And it took me 5 seconds to see, I needed this, this, and this real quick. I noticed you didn't do it. Greg emailed it over to me.
Definitely learning lesson.
Greg had his money a couple days ago, so.
Well, we're going to do some good with it. So.
Yep, absolutely. And all right, well, guys, thank you so much for the time. And Greg, thanks for putting this together. And Jason, thanks for your time. I know you're busy.
Appreciate
All
it,
right,
guys.
guys.
Thank you, guys.
Take
Have a
care,
good one.
guys. God bless everybody.